Hello everyone, welcome to AhdurinTCG. I'm your host, Ahdurin himself, and it's time for another episode of the Build and Battle Ultimate Challenge. Learned a lot from the first one we did. You can check that out in the playlist that's probably in the description, the cards, all that sort of stuff. You can also check out the rules available in those same locations as well. Rather than getting through a large sort of spiel here, let's spin this wheel and figure out what exactly we're playing with this time. If I did this correctly, you can hear the sound as well, but let's find out what we're rolling with. We are going with Toxtricity. Okay, I know a lot about this because this build and battle deck is effectively what I'm using as my main deck right now. So, without further ado, let's talk about the build and battle deck itself. Alrighty, so you can see the build and battle deck as constructed here. 2 Toxtricity, 2 Toxel, and then the Crocodile line, running a 3-2-3 lineup. We've got Absol as well, that helps with draw power. Grimsley's move is able to pull Dark Pokemon directly from your deck onto the bench, doesn't matter what stage. Lily's Determination is Lily's, Brock Scouting's good, Dusk Ball, Rare Candy, Energy Recycler Switch, all the standard stuff, and 12 Dark Energy as well. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, then you'll know that this is a deck that I know very well. Not only was this a build and battle deck I did, but this is kind of the core underlying features of the current version of my main deck that I use at locals. So I know a lot about this deck. I know how good it can be. Now it's just a matter of seeing how well it can perform. So, I think without further ado, we can jump into our timer, get onto Pokemon TCG Live, and see what we want to work with, because this time we're using Phantasmal Flames as our set. Hello everyone, we back. Here's our chart and all of that sort of stuff. You know, the fun details that come with this. Now, it is time for us to build a brand new deck here. You can see this one here, by the way, Obstagoon. I'm trying to test this out. You might see a video about this in the future. But for now, we're focusing mainly on creating this new deck. As usual, 30-minute timer on the top left will start when I place the first card in. I need to have this all set up. Unfortunately, I'm running with one screen, so I gotta make sure I got everything on my side. Alrighty, got it pulled up. I might actually have the box itself now that I think about it, because that was one of the build and battle events that I did. So I think we're ready to get started. Yeah, I think without further ado, we'll type this all in and get this started. So the clock starts in 3, 2, 1, go. Crowd goes wild with excitement. So you don't need to see the first couple of minutes, so I will just build the current version of the deck and go from there. Alright, so we've got it set up here. We've got a 40-card deck built up with the Toxtricity line, Crocodile, we're running 3-2-3 as I've mentioned previously. Absol is cool. If we start off with Absol, we can draw cards. If we start off with Toxel, we can build the bench out. And then the trainers. Now, it's really important, remember, we can only use cards in our little chart here. We can only use Phantasmal Flames cards, which means for things that are coming in Mega Evolution, like Lily's Determination, we are stuck with whatever we've got. So 3 Lilies I think is fine. Obviously, the 4th one would be nice. Same with Brock Scouting, 2 is pretty solid. Dusk Ball, I believe, is older. Rare Candies is for Mega, so we're actually stuck with 2 here. That's old, that's old. Grimsley's is a new one. We can add that in as well as whatever cards we need to. So, first things first, let's take a look at Phantasmal Flames itself. Now, unfortunately, due to the fact that I'm still young and do not know what I'm doing, I cannot put all of it on the screen at once. However, I will talk about some of the more interesting cards and pull them up here. So, let's take a look. Alright, that took way too long, but here we go. We've got the set here, now obviously jumping immediately to the dark types. What can we roll with here? Obviously, Gengar's in this deck. We could use that. That could be really funny if we just tried to build a Phantasmal Flames version of the Gengar deck I've been running all this time. I do want to try to make things interesting, and initially, my first thought is throwing Mega Sharpedo in here. I think that could be intriguing for sure. Now remember, I am not looking anything up. That's what I was going to say. So, not completely necessary to, or I don't even know what I'm saying here. Since I'm not looking anything up, I have to build a strategy from scratch, so I can't look up what current Mega Sharpedo decks are. Let's see here. Oh, Dawn is going to be, I think, vital in this deck. So looking at it from a supporter's perspective, let's show that off very quickly. So We know for a fact, Dawn, I think it is probably the most important card in Phantasmal Flames. Search your deck for basic, stage 1 and stage 2, and add them to your hand, shuffle your deck. Fantastic. Let's see, we could go the Punk Helmet strategy, add that in as well, but I think what I might do, I might go stage 2 Dark Pokemon, Sableye boosts it. That's intriguing. That does 90 for 1, which isn't too bad. But I do think, on top of the fact that I've never used Mega Sharpedo, I think it's probably the clear pick here, in my opinion. So I think that's what I'm probably going to go with. I think building a Mega Sharpedo deck out of this is going to be a good idea. So how does it get structured is my question now. I know... Alright, let's do this actually. Let's figure out what the Tox line is. The Tox is a rare, it looks like. I believe the Toxtricity is a rare, so let's take a look here. So early thoughts, I think, is adding a Toxel Toxtricity line, adding a couple of Carvana lines. I think that's probably solid start. I would love to add the Gengar line, but I don't really think I can make it work as well as I hope I can. Is there anything else that I can add here? So let's do this. Let's take a look here. Let's add these for the first point. So we'll add an extra Toxel and a Toxtricity. We'll add 2 Carvanas, and we'll add 2 Sharpedos. I'm wondering, although we don't have a way of taking Pokemon and bouncing them around, we don't have Switch, for example, because I was thinking of adding Lopunny in here. We could add, by effects of attacks and abilities from the opponent's Pokemon. Okay, so we could add Battle Cage in here as a stadium. We added in mainly to eliminate other stadiums. That's a diamond uncommon card. So we add like Battle Cage 1 and Battle Cage 2 here. That's not a bad idea. We can add a couple of Battle Cages, and then from there we can make it so that we have something to go against. It's more for opponents' decks to not impact us. We can get rid of their stadiums. It's helpful for us. The only damage we want to do to ourselves is the Toxtricity damage, which actually brings up a solid point here. How do I want to play with this? So I kind of want to keep Absol in as an early game draw engine, because one thing that I've known from my run-throughs with the Crocodile deck and all that is that it's very slow. It's hard to draw cards. It's easier, obviously, with Mega Sharpedo, of course, doing damage and drawing cards. So I think that's a solid start. Oh, Dawn, obviously. I didn't add the Dawn in. I absolutely need Dawn. That's an uncommon. With our current setup here, I wonder if I just throw out like 3 Dawns and just play that off here. So we go like Dawn, Dawn, Dawn. Something like that. I will note the reverses are basically like a anything clause, so it's not the worst thing in the world. We can definitely make things work here. Let's see, what else do we have here? Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know why I'm not sorting this. Let's only go Phantasmal. There we go. I should have been doing that from the start. I've been sitting here on my phone trying to have everything on one screen. We've got it here. Switch is a Phantasmal card. Is it? One moment. Right? Maybe? Oh no, it's telling me that it is. Yeah, it's telling me Switch is a Phantasmal card. So I could go a Switch, maybe? Oh, Switch is only as a full art rare. This one. That's intriguing. Okay. So we could add more Switches. Ooh, we could add Megalopunny then. That's intriguing. How would I make that work? We'd have to have Baniri. Why would I have Megalopunny? That's a better question to ask. And the answer is, I'm not quite sure. This deck doesn't have the bouncing potential. Okay, so maybe not the best idea there. Let's see. Recycler's not terrible, right? I generally don't want to cut anything that's here. Perhaps adding another Grimsley. I think that might be a solid choice here. Oh, that's why. You do Grimsley and then Duskball in response after that. Maybe I just build that out. So we can go, Grimsley's a diamond, right? So we'll go, nope. Don't know what I'm clicking here. We'll go Grimsley. I'm not spelling this right, doesn't matter. And then we go, what are you? You're a diamond as well. We go Dusk. Add those in. So we'll add one of you, add two of you. Just make the exchange here, it's not a big deal. And now we have a game plan, I guess, in place. You can throw Grimsley, put a dark Pokemon on the bench. If you can't for whatever reason, or maybe in addition to that, if you got multiple dark Pokemon, then you Dusk Ball, pick a Pokemon, add that to your hand, right? Yeah, so that's not terrible, right? That's something. I'd like to, how many basics do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that's good. 10 is a solid number there. So now it's just a matter of what trainer cards can I add in here? Ignition Energy doesn't help us, right? So Ignition Energy has a special card. I'm terrible with these. It's the 2-star ones. What are these? Full art, you know what I'm talking about. It is, if it's attached to a Pokemon, discard it at the end of your turn. As long as it's attached, it provides it's colorless. If it's attached to an evolution, it's triple colorless. That doesn't help me unless I'm attaching it to Crocodile, and if I'm attaching it to Crocodile, it's not doing the right thing anyway. So maybe not there. I want to take a look here. So let me take a look. What do we got? We could always tools. That's something. It takes less damage from attacks from your opponent that have an ability. Most Pokemon have an ability. That's not terrible. You know what I'm thinking, actually? This is not a terrible idea. Why would you have 3 or more energies attached? Why would you have 3 or more energies attached? Honestly, I'm not sure. So, let's see here. I just realized I didn't add my Dawns in. Let me add those in, because that's gonna 1, 2, 3. There we go. So 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4. We should be at 54. Okay. That explains why I was missing some cards. Okay, we only need 6. What am I going to struggle with? I have draw power in my Pokemon. I have both Absol and Mega Sharpedo. I have the line of attackers to come back. So my early thoughts, this is how I think battles are going to work. And do I have time to discuss? I do, okay. So early thoughts of how I think this is going to work. Ideally, we start off with... We start with what? I think the idea is that we start with Absol or Toxel. Something like that to draw cards. They get knocked out, Sharpedo comes in, does as much damage as possible. Sharpedo gets knocked out, now they've taken 4 prizes. We take a Crocodile knocks them out, they knock us out in response, and then we bring out the second Sharpedo. That seems to be the strategy. That way we have the most damage dealt, most bang for a buck sort of situation here. Alternatively, we get Carvanha starting off, or getting some way of switching out, probably with Switch. Carvanha goes out, does the damage, Sharpedo gets knocked out, we go Crocodile 1, bang, Crocodile 2, bang, and then Sharpedo number 2. So, I think, how do I want to do this? We probably want an extra Toxel Carvanha. I kind of like that. We get an extra Toxel for Call for Family, we get an extra Carvanha to get the Sharpedo play running. And then what? Go there. I think we're good with the Crocodile line, so we go extra. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So, you're a common. That's cool. So we'll go Toxel here, Carvanha here, and we'll add one of each of those. So an extra Toxel, an extra Carvana. Sounds good. We can search for Sharpedo or just throw it down immediately. We can throw it down with this. We can search for it with this if we find it through Grimsley. We can find it through Brox. We can find it through Dawn. There's a number of different ways we can find it, so I like that. We have 12 energies. I think that's solid, right? We'll use 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, maybe like 10-ish will end up getting used in the game, so I think we're fine there. Is there anything else that I want to throw in there? We've got the Dawn. We might throw another Dawn in there. I kind of want to throw, ooh, Punk Helmet. I kind of like Punk Helmet, I'm not going to lie. You are uncommon, which I can make a reverse out of you. That would fill up our spots here. I don't have a way of searching it, but I also don't think that's a huge deal. It's also a way of getting a card out so lilies can work. All right, let's do this. I have enough time to run a test match for sure. So Punk Helmet is a diamond card, so we'll do this. We'll go Punk Helmet here, and then I'm gonna make a couple of my reverses. We'll call it like that. So that way we run 4 Punk Helmets, and now we have a 60 card deck that could theoretically work. We've got a lot of Pokemon. We got, again, how many basics here? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 basics. We're not mulliganing. That's important. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to test this real quick. I'm going to see how quickly we can get this done. The clock may or may not expire on us, but we'll run it and see what we get here. So I will see all of you either at the end of this test match or when something interesting happens. Okay, cool. Talk to you later. Alright, one test match down. I still have a minute-ish on the clock, which is good enough. I'm going to actually... first I'm going to set this active. That's not what I wanted. Hello, I want to make sure I do this. No, I'm clicking the wrong buttons here. Get me out of here. Okay, so, this deck. I want to edit the deck, that's right. I'm going to cut an Absol and what am I cutting? And a Punk helmet to add 2 switches in. Now they have to be this one in particular, but I think that's what I'm gonna do. So Absol and Punk helmet. That's my final adjustments. I'm gonna make those adjustments. I know the clock has run out, but I've called it. I'm making it. That's it. Cool. Probably heard the alarm there. That's gonna be my final adjustment that I make. No other adjustments can be made. Let me update the sheet as well. So I'm gonna call this one the switch special one. I'm going to cut a Punk helmet and one of the Absols that was in the deck, and in exchange I'm adding 2 switches. So I'm gonna cut this here, and then we'll say we pulled 2 of them. Wow, well, look at us. I think they go here. Do they go where how does the switch look? Let me take a look real quick. Phantasmal Flames, thank you. Trainer, switch. No, I mean, it's the double stars. I think that means they are in this last spot. I think the way that I have it described here is that the white stars are the final cards pulled. I think that's how it is. So I'm gonna go here. Let me make sure I made those adjustments there. We're gonna take the Phantasmal one here. We'll add. Hello. Well, yeah. All right. So I am fudging the rules a little bit here, but you get the gist. I'm gonna add. There we go. That's it. I'm adding 2 fancy smancy Mega Evolution ones, even though they're not Mega Evolution. Phantasmal Flames ones that go here and here. We have a reverse Tox. We took out one of the Punk helmets. I think now we have a 60 card deck. Yeah, because I wasn't really using the Absol, so it's there kind of as a break class in case of emergency. And then take out a Punk helmet because this is probably the easiest thing to cut. Switch is probably really important for me because if I fall into a situation in the test match that I ran through, Sandile's in the front, that's not good because it kind of just sits there. So This is the deck that we're working with here. A real recap. We got 4 Toxel, 3 Toxtricity. One of the Toxels is available in case I want to sack it for Call for Family. We have a 3-2-3 Crocodile lineup here, running 1 Absol for the Allure mainly, and then a 3-2 Carvana Mega Sharpedo lineup. For our trainers, we have Grimsley's Move, Lily's Determination. Grimsley, we're running 4 of them because they're helpful. Lily's, because it's always great to have a Lily's. Brock Scouting, which I really wish we were doing Journey Together. This has been a fantastic card in this deck, just in the brief time that I tested with it. Duskull has an opportunity to pair with Grimsley, otherwise it's just a great way of searching for Pokemon. Really impactful, it's helping a lot during that matchup. The 2 rare candies they give us in case we need to speed evolve some of those Crocodiles. Energy Recycler, we could probably cut this as well, but I have it here. Running 3 Switch, because it's important for us to be able to get out of bad situations. Especially early game, and so Switch kind of helpful there. Battle Cage, more for blocking the opponent's stadium as opposed for our own. 3 Dawns, because this is the best thing in the game. And Punk Helmet, because it's nice to do chip damage. Running 12 energies, I think that's a solid number. We could probably cut this down a little bit to add to something else, but I think this is good. And now it's time to go through our matchups. Remember, 3 casual matchups, 2 competitive matchups, aka the ladder leaderboard sort of thing. 1 point for each of the casual wins, 2 points for each of the competitive wins. So time for future me to give a recap on how that went. Thanks, past me. Welcome to the battles. We'll start off with a first casual matchup here, and you can see immediately seeing a discrepancy here. I talked all about how we were going to have this situation where, oh, we've got so many basic Pokemon, we don't have to worry about it. Where apparently cutting that 1 Absol apparently made a massive difference here because I've already mulliganed. Unsurprising there. Opponent takes a while to get everything fully set up here, but now we can get started. Starting off with Toxel in this matchup. Unlike the last episode, I'm going to try to do more of a play-by-play sort of thing here, and hopefully it's entertaining. You can see the setup here, starting off with Brock Scouting and Dawn as well, which is definitely a good sign. We've got the ability to have Toxtricity on the bench early. That's pretty good. The Call for Family is helpful as well, and now it's just a matter of seeing what the strategy is for the opponent. Looks like they're running a dark deck of some sort, and I will ask you all, because I'm not 100% sure, do you happen to know what the strategy is for my opponent? Because I was curious about this. I've never seen a deck like this before, and it feels very interesting. Very curious as to seeing how this was supposed to work out. Starting off, you can see the Pawniard there. I'm assuming this is a King Gambit deck of some sort, but it's not the King Gambit from the most recent sets, because that one has, it's a metal card, it's got an ability, that's really impactful the later the game goes on. And then also, there's the promo Darkrai here, which I find very interesting. Curious how that's going to work. In my play, after drawing, Brock Scouting, taking a look here, going to set up a Carvana Sandile line here. We've got the line of Sandiles that can start to get going in a moment. And then Call for Family, we're going to add this up here. Debating here what exactly I want to do. I'm so used to pulling out things like Phasantipity or Monkey Dory with Call for Family. This didn't need that because this doesn't have that. So just setting up another Carvana and Sandile line there as well. We can set up some line depending on what we want to do with Dawn afterwards, whatever ends up fitting best. They followed there, again, using some interesting cards here. That feels almost like a deck set up back when Scarlet Violet first came out. The base set and a couple sets there, because I believe all of these are pretty early cards. So with a bench full as well, Grimsley's no longer has any impact there, so now it's just a matter of figuring out how I want to do this, what Pokemon I want to take off of the Dawn here. Thinking take the Sharpedo, we can get Crocodile evolved with our rare candy in hand, then just trying to think of a basic Pokemon that fits. Grabbing Absol, at this point it's not really necessary. The Absol's only there in case I draw it on the first turn. I can use it to draw some more cards. But you get everything evolved, no energies, all of a sudden. Another issue that I thought wouldn't be an issue with this hand is now back again. I was thinking, hey, we have a lot of basic Pokemons. I had to mulligan. I was thinking, hey, we have 12 energies in this deck. But I don't have any way of searching for them. I don't have any Earthen Vessels or anything like that that can go deeper into the deck. So I kind of get stuck here for a little bit. You can see I'm stuck, and I think my only advantage is that they are also seemingly stuck as well. They're putting energies on their Darkrai in the back, which I don't think that Darkrai is particularly good. And you could let me know if it's a card that I am underrating here, but I can't really think of it. The switch you can see is helpful there. I'm not really sure what the strategy is with the Darkrai, but again, maybe you know something that I don't. We get Sharpedo out there. My strategy at this point, Sharpedo does a lot of damage. I think I mentioned this in that first segment. I think the strategy behind this, it can go in one of a couple different ways. One strategy is Sharpedo. If it gets out there early enough, then it can start to do massive damage. Once it gets knocked out, we do a line of Crocodiles until they're down to one prize card left, at which point we bring out a second Sharpedo, theoretically doing a lot of damage. This is another debate here as well. The fact that I have free retreat on Mega Sharpedo is actually really helpful, meaning I don't have to worry about getting stuck in the front. And the Punk Helmet is helpful because the opponent will take some recoil damage, if you want to consider it that way, meaning I can do a sizable amount with the Hungry Jaw and all of that. Darkrai getting knocked out here. There's a Jacq in response. I've got Crocodile in the back set up. We've got Toxtricity able to move some energies around here. I can set up the second Tox as well with what's in my hand. As my opponent evolves into Bisharp here, I don't know if there is a King Gambit or not at this point. So set up the second Tox. I'm trying to thin the deck at this point because I'm able to. So we set up here, get this guy on Carvanha. Now if we get the second Mega Sharpedo, we can set that up, attach the energy from the hand, and then attack. Get another prize card, and things seem to be going really smoothly here. We continue forward with this. Bisharp comes out again. They evolve into King Gambit, but it doesn't have any effects. This isn't the King Gambit I was thinking I would end up facing if I were to face a King Gambit. So after a supporter card here, trying to refresh the deck, looking for something presumably. I'm going to assume part of their strategy was prize there. There's the Yveltal, which has a decent 2 energy attack there, but I don't think it's going to be helpful in this matchup here. We draw, we've got a switch if we ever needed it. I'm going to thin the deck a little bit more, though I think at this point it's kind of overkill. I'm just setting up, again, moving energies out of the decks, trying to draw the more optimal stuff. Sharpedo, knockout, and I think you can predict how this match is going to end up going here because they don't really have much else. After a little bit more time, they eventually end up with the concede. And so, that's one win for the Catchwolves. We move on now to matchup number 2, figuring out what to do here. All right, here comes matchup number 2 here. We get set up. Everything is here. I have the option to go first. I choose to go first. I think this deck can kind of work in both ways. And again, another instance where I have to mulligan. I'm not really sure how to signal to the opponent, hey, I need to mulligan, because I noticed that sometimes I think the opponent waits to see how much you've got on your hands before they set up. But you can see here a little bit better of a second hand. Toxel set up here to get things started. Ideally, I think I would like to have Carvanha there as we see a Ogerpon. This is not good because half of my deck, including the important parts, are weak to Grass-type Pokemon. You can see Sharpedo's weakness as well. The Dusk Ball trying to get things going here. We set up the energy on the Toxel. In hindsight, I'm not sure if I should have done that necessarily. Maybe hold on to the energy for next turn, or maybe attach it to Sandile, or maybe the Toxel on the bench, just because I don't, there's a risk of them being able to knock me out, and then if I lose that energy, then we're in a problematic situation. I think the only saving grace is that the fact that we have Toxtricity on the bench, as they get things set up quickly. Now, Ogerpon's here, obviously, with the Teal Dance, able to draw cards while attaching energies onto them, and then the Heracross on the back is a really good, almost like counter attacker. It's like a Wobbuffet almost in a way. Like you attack it, it takes some damage, it's probably not knocked out, and then it can respond in kind, doing a massive amount of damage for 2 energies. Grimsley's move is able to get a Mega Sharpedo directly on the bench here. This is a big mistake that I made, I think. In hindsight, I think one of those Pokemon, probably the Sandile, but maybe the Carvanha, I think it should have been a Toxel. Putting Toxel down, getting Toxtricity, able to get energies out quickly is going to be very important for this deck, especially with the Toxel active, kind of just sitting there. And so now, as everything is set up here, they're able to get the energies moving. They've got Heracross fully set up with the Hero's Cape and everything, knocks out Toxel. And now it's kind of in this weird spot where I have Sharpedo, but it's not ready. So I got to figure out a way to move around this. So we can start off, of course, with the Crocodile, getting that set up, meaning we can do sizable damage here. But now we cannot knock out, basically under any circumstance, this Heracross. So I'm looking through, trying to figure out what to do with Brock Scouting. My idea is to set up another Sandile here to prepare for the Crocodile next turn. I don't think that they have any sort of like hand shuffling mechanism, so we should be okay here. And so now it's just kind of a waiting game. We're trying to see if they are going to be able to knock us out. Remember, this deck doesn't run any Boss's Orders or Prime Catcher or anything of the sort. It doesn't have a way of pulling in opponents, because that would have been ideal in some capacity. This deck doesn't run it, though. And so a big Mountain Ramming throws 2 cards off the top of the deck as well. Dawn could have been helpful. Lily could have been helpful as well. Lily especially, with a basically non-existent hand here. We've got Sharpedo now with damage, able to get set up. We got Crocodile set up. I throw Sharpedo in here. This is another mistake that I think I made. I think in hindsight, probably having Crocodile out there, because I knew I had Crocodile, would have been a better run. Instead, now they can get an Ogerpon fully set up with weakness, and it's, they're able to refresh their deck, and this match kind of ends relatively quickly here. They just get one big slam here, able to fully knock us out. They take 3 prizes, and we're kind of in a pickle here because I can't knock them out in response. Again, if I had Crocodile out, it doesn't look like they have any sort of Boss's Orders or anything like that, so they would have knocked out the Crocodile, taken 1 prize, and then from there I could have brought in Sharpedo to ideally do some more damage. But instead, we're kind of stuck here in this situation. So we've learned a couple of lessons. Number 1, the more Toxtricity you can get on the bench, the better. And 2, order is important. And so I think that's a big lesson that we learned in that one. Moving on to matchup number 3 here. Starting off, we are going to go first for the first time in a while. We are not mulliganing, but we start off with just a Toxel. Remember, this is the final casual matchup that we have here. And so we got to get the last easy point before we go to the difficult competitive matchups. They start off with the Snorunt. My first thought immediately is some sort of Frostlass deck. I know Mega Frostlass exists. That could be interesting. Alternatively, it's some sort of like stall, spread damagey sort of deck. And that kind of solidifies it. It is certainly a spread damagey sort of deck because it is Marnie's Grimmsnarl. Now, I have Battle Cage in hand, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great. We can just bounce their stadium out immediately. We don't have to worry about abilities or anything like that. If they do end up working with Frostlass, and then they Iono us. Oh, I can't wait for Iono to be gone, even though, of course, it is probably good if I had Ionos. Especially in decks like this where it's kind of wild. So, they've got Impidimp set up. They've got a Snorunt in the back set up. And now we are trying to revitalize everything. So what do we do here? Well, Carnivines, put them down. Dawn here. I use that now, taking a look into the deck. Toxtricity, of course, is going to be important. And then from here, it's kind of a question of how I want to play this out. I look through the deck, and I realize something that you might have realized as well. There are no Sharpedos in my deck. What does that mean? Both of them have been prized. Meaning the Carvanhas are just going to sit there until I get a knockout. So, how do we get the knockout? As I yell into the mic, apparently. Well, it's a new game plan at this point. We both need to set up, and in my head, I'm trying to show off that there's a Sharpedo in my deck, even though, of course, there is none. So I still need to set up and make it look like they're actually useful, while at the same time thinning my deck, while at the same time setting up the Sandile for the Crocodile play that eventually has to come. But in order to do that, they have to knock us out. And that means somebody has to be out there for the knockout. And so, as they slowly set up here, they've got 2 Snowrunts down at the back. You'll notice throughout this entire matchup, they don't evolve the Snowrunts. I'm assuming they are regular Frostlass that go out there, but nothing. I'm assuming they're either prized, or maybe they just felt like the strategy wasn't necessary. You can see they used the Evolution TM and didn't even bother actually using it, which was an interesting choice. I think they had forgotten that they had the tool on their active Pokemon. We use Switch, Evolve here. We've got 60 damage. Unfortunately, 60 is not enough. So we Sinister Surge here to get things, again, thinning out the deck as much as possible here. Just trying to get all the energies out. And then we do our little 60 damage here. This does mean we can knock out the next turn if they don't evolve. Guess what that means? They evolve. And that is the beginning of the end for me here. There's a lot more in this battle. There's still a shot here. But now that they've got things set up here, it's kind of rough. They do things out of order. I'm curious as to why, because they could have buddy and then done the attack to move some of the Darkness Energy onto the Impidimp in the back. But it doesn't really matter. They're able to get the knockout on the Crocodile, and now it's just a matter of who they want to attack. They're going to attack the Carnivine. Not great. So I'm thinking about this. How do I want to play this out? We've got basically no hand in hand. But I throw Carnivine out there because at least we can retreat if necessary. Grimsley set up the Crocodile. We're going to attach some energies, move that around. You know the deal here. The bright side is we do have the energy to attach, or not attach, we have the energy to retreat, so we can go into Crocodile. Boom, big hit, solid damage. It will knock us out next turn, but at least we have Toxtricity to be able to do some damage to the active one, only to realize, of course, they have the second one in the back. Now, Spikemuth Gym, adding more Pokemon, they're just slowly building up this Grimmsnarl line here, so if one of them were to fall, they could just bounce back to another one. Here's the knockout blow on those guys, able to take 2 prizes off of that. We bring out Toxtricity. We've got Toxel. It's just there. It's an extra body, I suppose. Again, thinning the deck a little bit more here, just trying to do whatever we can. Put it in on itself, setting up the next Toxtricity. This apparently is my attacker as we get the Grimmsnarl out. Looking for a Sharpedo, we get one. It's not out of the woods yet. However, we need to catch up. Night Stretcher doesn't help me out by any stretch because they're able to get more cards back into their hand. They get Munkidori on the field as well, so because we have no ability to knock out their Pokemon easily, Munkidori can start moving damage from their guys to ours. And you can see slowly and carefully things are starting to be falling into place for them. It is a methodical ending here. I'm deciding to put Toxtricity out there because they can't knock me out from my head immediately, so they'll only take 1 prize, meaning that we can set up Sharpedo on the bench and ideally being able to figure something out there. Lily's just getting a free hand here, seeing what I want to do to set up here. This is another instance where I think I might have made a mistake. Punk Helmet probably should have gone on Sharpedo and not on Toxtricity. Because yes, they would have knocked out the Toxtricity, but I could bring in the Sharpedo again, get the knockout. They have to attack. They won't be able to knock out here, and then I can respond in kind. So it's one of those things where I think I just played it kind of unoptimally, and as a result, end up getting the loss here. Having the Rare Candy and the Dawn as well, you'd think it could be doing some sort of Crocodile play. Not able to, though. So we bring this out here. Dawn just trying to thin the deck in some capacity. I'm also going to Rare Candy just to get a healthy Sandile in case they do something that I can't think of, like some sort of extra spread damage here. But unfortunately, see, this would have been good to have the Punk Helmet because they would have had to either retreat or they would attack into it and get knocked out, but didn't do it that way. And so as a result, you can see here eventually as the plays move out, damage is moved around, they don't really need to do all of this because I'll do my damage here, they'll attack, do sizable amount of damage, I'll respond in kind, knocking out the Grimmsnarl, but then they just bring out the second one, coming back to basically end it. So that ends our casual matchups here. We get the second Sharpedo just as a bonus, I suppose. Ends our second casual matchups here. We are 1-2 in casual matchups, so let's see how we can do in the competitive scene of the ladder board, effectively, and see if we can do anything better there. All right, competitive time. Flipping the coin. They decide they would like to go, because I don't remember here. I'm doing the post-commentary afterwards. I actually don't remember what they do. They're taking a long time to make their decision. They're going second, which means we're going first. As usual, apparently with this deck, we need to mulligan again. That is the 3rd time, I think, out of 4 matches that we have to mulligan. We're on the board, though. We're on the leaderboard, so let's see what we can do here. They're starting off with a Ponyta, and I have no idea what's going on here. I've never seen a deck like this, and I'm very confused as to what it is, but I'm intrigued. I'm assuming that Ponyta or Rapidash has some sort of skill set that can allow them to fix things up, and the Eevee Dragon Bolt in the back makes me think that this is some sort of, like, Terra Box sort of thing. I'm guessing of some sort. Lily's determination to refresh here, as I've got the one Carvana here. I've got Mega Sharpedo on deck, basically. For a split second, I was like, wait, maybe I can actually knock them out. Win the match really easily. Unfortunately, not the case here. They get some damage down on Carvana, which is actually helpful for us. Because now, when we get the Sharpedo, speaking of, do we want to get a second Sharpedo? We do. So, we got Sharpedo number 1 active here. We got Sharpedo number 2 over there. Greedy Fang, because we can knock out, draw some cards in the process. The recoil damage is not a big deal on this, obviously, because we like the recoil to a certain extent. And then here comes Dracloak. Now, it's got Fez in the back as well, so they're starting to set up. It feels like a Dragon Bolt sort of deck here initially. But with this little movement here, they're going to look into this, try to do some damage, barring anything else. Ultra Ball, they're going to search for what? They search for Glaceon, which is intriguing. But also, Glaceon, it can do spread damage, which is obviously pretty good, but it's not a very strong attack. They don't yet have anything that can take advantage of the other attack, where it's an instant knockout if it has 6 damage counters. And more importantly, we can knock them out. That's right, with damage on our Pokemon, which we've got here, the ultimate attack of Mega Sharpedo can actually knock out Glaceon, meaning we have a shot here. So I set up Toxel, get this going, second energy here. We need to do the big attack, obviously, because Greedy Fang is not going to be enough to knock them out. We've got the Punk Helmet off of the prize card. Here comes Glaceon here. I'm trying to figure out what's up here. And there's the Rapidash. Rapidash's special ability allows them to draw a card once per turn, which is pretty helpful. Attachment here, Iono to refresh, both of our hands, of course. They have the Terra tool. There you go, that one. The crystal allowing them to have attacks with one less energy. That's pretty impactful there. And yet it's not enough to knock out. And next turn, we can knock out the Glaceon in response. So I'm hesitantly confident at this point. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. We have the opportunity here. Here's the Frost Bullet. It's going to do 110 on my Mega Sharpedo. It's going to do 30 on the guy on the bench. And now we have an opportunity here because we can take 2 prizes off of this. I'm just, throwing the hand downs before Lily's determination. And feeling pretty confident about these sort of things. Looking into the hand, trying to see what we want to do. Set up a second Sandile, why not? And then from here, let's just go Hungry Jaws. Knock out. Take 2 prizes. Things are going pretty smoothly here. We have the Carvanha, which at this point isn't necessary. We only have 2 Mega Sharpedos in this deck, and both of them are on the field right now. Dreepy could go into Dragapult, is what I'm thinking is going to happen here. But then it evolves into Dracloak, meaning it can't Rare Candy into Dragapult. So, this means next turn, barring anything dramatic, they're not going to be able to do much of anything. They retreat from Dracloak, going into Monkey Dory. Monkey Dory, they use the supporter here to attach an energy, and then that's basically it. Somehow, some way, we won. Meaning, we have a competitive win. Can we get a second competitive win? Well, that goes into this matchup here. Now, unlike the other matchup where it was kind of a new deck for me, I've never seen the Glaceon sort of deck that has so many different energies and it's like multifaceted here. This one is much more of a standard affair. We've got Toxel and Carvanha in the front, Ditto. Initially starting off, I think it looks very, very cool, but you'll see in a second, Ditto will transform into something that is not as cool and much more regular. You'll see here, instantly going to start off by throwing Hoodoo down. You already have an idea of what this is going to be. Ditto popping out into Terapagos is a bit of a shift here, but the Nest Ball will help search for the Pokemon that I think they want, Charmander. That's right, we're running a Charizard sort of deck. Dawn, the supporter, to help them get things going. I, for a split second, thought that first move was able to be used on their first turn, which would have been terrifying, because that would have obliterated this entire team. But instead, not the case. You cannot use it on the first turn, which is nice, because that means if we can somehow get Terapagos out, that's 2 prizes very early on, and the drawing of Mega Sharpedo helps significantly. You can see I was pausing for a second, because my plan was to Dawn into Mega Sharpedo, but if you draw it for free, now I got to think of what I want to do here, and in fact, you can see me deliberating here, going very, very slowly. But now it's kind of like a plan here. How do I want to organize this? How can I set this up properly? I need to make sure I find a way to be able to effectively get the energies onto Mega Sharpedo and being able to knock out this turn is what I'm looking for. So I decided to go with this strategy. Sinister Surge, putting the damage on. Attach the second energy here. And then I'm going to Lily, where I draw into the switch. Beautiful, random luck. Throw the Battle Cage down for bonus points. We got the Punk Helmet on. Big damage there, take 2 prizes, and we are in a solid spot. They bring up the Charmander. I'm concerned because that sounds like they're going to be able to Rare Candy, which they do. They also get rid of our stadium to place a stadium that's better for them, obviously. The Area 0 here. And now they've got the Noctowls. The Fan Rotom was on the previous turn. They're starting to get things flowing on their end. Buddy Poffin getting more Pokemon on the bench. Pheasantipity allowing the draw. Iono to disrupt whatever plays we have. And as expected, they're able to get things going here. The Duskull's there as well, which means that they can pop for Dusclops or Dusknoir, meaning that they can do some sizable damage here. Now, we are in a solid spot. Not enough to be able to knock out. We are just short of the actual damage needed to knock out. I think we do 270. They have 290 here. But we might be able to get something going here. First things first, the Grimmsnarl there is very... Grimmsnarl, I keep saying Grimmsnarl. The Grimsley's move there is very helpful because we were able to get Crocodile immediately onto the field. And now, I'm debating what I want to do here, how I want to play this out. I go for Greedy Fang, being able to draw 2 cards, rather than go for the close but not exactly knockout, because they'll be able to just hit us back in response. No point in trying to do extra damage if it's not necessary. They Ultra Ball into Dusknoir. Rare Candy, Dusknoir is on the field now, and now this is an interesting situation here. They Nest Ball for a second Duskull here, and they pop Dusknoir attacking who? They go for the Toxel, which I found very interesting. Getting the knockout there, I guess they didn't want the second Toxtricity on the field. We each take a prize card here, and now, at any point in time, Iono coming in to refresh the hands a little bit more. We have even smaller of a hand. They get the Noctowl to be able to search for even more cards. And you can see one of them is the Iono. They could do that next turn as well. Buddy, I think just to throw their hand away. I don't think they have an option of what to search for. So, Darkness, knockout here. And now we know Crocodile can knock out on the next turn. So we have that on field at least. Sharpedo draw is interesting. Put Toxel down, Punk Helmet to get some extra damage on the next person that shows up. And we just go for the attack because we're able to get the knockout here. We have 1 prize remaining. They have 2. We don't have a 2-prizer on the field right now, so they have to knock out 2 Pokemon at the same time. And getting rid of the stadium because we knocked out their Terra Pokemon, meaning that if they get this Charmander to Charizard or some sort of big level, they have a shot here. Otherwise, we win. They go through this thinking about it, setup, and they concede. After this, of course. They go through, they're trying to refresh, they shuffle everything back in, try to draw as much as they can, they Iono, they do everything, and they are unable to be successful in getting the Charizard, presumably, out on the field. And so, we are able to get the win. You can see they're that close, and yet, they aren't able to get it done, meaning we get the win. That is another competitive win. So let's review. Alright, so my thoughts on the deck itself. I think it turned out remarkably well, all things considered. It helps that we didn't go against too many grass-type decks. That's definitely a downside for this, but Mega Sharpedo being added into this deck really does help out. I'm not surprised that Mega Sharpedo is a very popular deck to run, mainly because of the attack, right? Hungry Jaws, two Dark Energies, 270, and able to get damage on it easily from the Toxtricity is definitely helpful. I think this is probably a very powerful card in the metagame. I know it's a powerful card in the metagame. With just multiple Dark-type decks that are out there, right? Whether it's Absol or if it's Sharpedo, getting energies on the field quicker is great. And getting energies on the field while also having that detrimental effect of taking 20 damage being good is even more impactful. The Crocodile line, I'm a sucker for this and any Pokemon that's like this, where it's able to do bonus damage. I think this is fantastic as well. In hindsight, didn't really use Absol. We were able to work around it, so in future versions of this deck, probably cut the Absol in addition for something else. The trainers, of course, it was a good selection of trainers to start with. I have always struggled to know whether or not Grimsley is a good card or not, and I think after testing it out, it definitely feels like a really important card. I think the impact that it has is powerful, considering it is able to pull Dark Pokemon directly onto the field, and I've gotten lucky with it. I think being able to thin the deck out of Dark Energies with the Toxtricity only helps Grimsley as you move further into the game. It becomes a really good mid-game card, I think, if you want to cheat out a Crocodile or Sharpedo or some Pokemon like that. I think it's really impactful there. So I'm debating trying to figure out a way to add this into my deck as well. Going from there, we didn't need the Energy Recycler. I think it is more useful in, say, like the Gengar deck that I've run. You can see that from a previous video. It's more impactful there, or in some version of that, because I think energies in there are premium, and they're not as much of a premium, at least the way that I played this deck. And the fact that games are a little bit quicker here. And that's pretty much it. That's the big overview I wanted to give there. The Grimsley Dusk Ball combination, I don't think I use that too much, but it's there as well. Switch is a card that I think my childhood brain is like, that's not a good idea. Why would you have that? It is very helpful. Obviously, there are cards that can run around this. You know, Mega Lopunny, for example, basically will have as many of this as possible just to bounce if you don't have air balloons on. But even in this deck, it's good to get yourself out of a tricky situation, or to basically pull up somebody in lieu of being able to pull somebody from their end up, right? So this deck doesn't run any bosses or counter catchers. Having Switch is a great way of having some flexibility on your end, which I think is really impactful. And of course, Rare Candy is it's very good as well, even in this deck when you don't necessarily need it for your big boss monster. So that wraps us up here. What a fun opportunity. You can see on the screen right now how well the Sharpedo deck did. You can see with the 1 casual win, 2 competitive wins, that puts us at 5 out of total 7 points, meaning that this deck easily jumps over Alakazam. It helps that I know how this deck works a little bit better than I knew how the Alakazam deck would work. And it also helps that this is the second one. I'm learning, hopefully. And let me know your thoughts on how this deck operated. What would you change, sticking of course to the rules that we've got here? Let me know in the comment section down below, and thank you for listening, watching, and supporting in any way, shape, or form that you do. Thank you. I don't know why I'm struggling with the outro. You'd think I've done this before. Until next time, everyone, Take care.